uh, we're live.
All right.
There you go. I just got the tag. Cool.
And we are live. It's Thursday, August 20th, and we are starting a new podcast. It's called The Entrepreneur's Lawyer. And the point of these podcasts are to talk directly to entrepreneurs about subjects and themes and ideas that affect all of the different types of business owners across the board. Today, I've got the opportunity to talk to Scott Reynolds. He's on Team Reynolds, and he's going to be talking to us about his team, his experience, and just some ideas that are across the board for no matter what industry you are in. But Scott just so happens to be in a similar industry as I am. My name is Jordan Lulich. I'm the host of today's podcast, and I'm a local real estate attorney. And Scott, I had the opportunity to talk to Scott many times about some of these issues. So Scott, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hey, well, first of all, thanks for having me. My name is Scott Reynolds. I'm the team leader of the Reynolds team at One Sotheby's here in Vero Beach, Florida. And so just we have a real estate team here. We have a team of 13 of administrative and salespeople that are just out having to put all these deals together and help the buyers and sellers get their homes sold.
Awesome, man. So I'm a native to this area, but unfortunately, there's not that many people that stick around. And so Vero Beach, Indian River County, Treasure Coast, we see so many different people moving in from out of town to this area. So are you from around here, or when did you move here if you're not?
You know, it's funny you say a lot of the things that I've seen over the years, some of the people that have grew up here, there's not many of you, but sometimes leave town and then you end up coming back to Vero Beach. So we moved down, my wife and I moved down in 2005 from Cleveland, Ohio. And we were in real estate there and moved down in 2005. So it's crazy. It's already been 15 years of being here in the area, which is, I feel like a local by being here that long. So
you could finally start to call yourself a local after 15 years. We'll let you slide. Usually it's 20.
Yeah,
no, I'm joking.
There for a while we were when we go on vacation or someone asks us where we're from, and I would naturally say the other Cleveland or anything, but it's actually Vero Beach.
So when you guys moved here, you guys were already in the real estate industry and you were moving here and you started selling right away?
Yeah, we jumped right in. It was a big shock because I'd only been in the real estate industry for 2 or 3 years at the time, and I knew real estate a certain way in Ohio. And when I moved here, it was night and day. So and the time the year that we moved, it was a very interesting time in the marketplace now that I'm able to reflect back on that time period. So
yeah. So what was that, like 2005, 2006?
Yeah, it was the strangest thing. Like I wasn't 100% sure of moving here, and I'm like, hey, I told Janice, I'm like, I gotta go down there and like be with the people, and like because I was trying to do everything online, and so I was staying with my mother-in-law until we were like figuring things out, and I intentionally wanted to go to the gym and I would go wherever where the people were to kind of like learn about the area, and everybody was an investor. and their definition of investor and how I grew up in the real estate definition of investor was 2 different things. That was back in the day when they were flipping homes and buying homes before they were even built and selling them 2, 3 times. That was totally foreign to me, and I didn't understand that. To me, an investor was someone that looks at a cap rate, looks at rate of return, and all. And this wasn't the same type of investor that I thought what an investor was.
Well, it's interesting. So you kind of you were getting your feet wet in this area right as the economy was at its height, and then we saw a pretty large downturn after that, a couple of years after. But it's interesting because a lot of people, small business owners, entrepreneurs, a lot of people are reluctant to take that jump and to start a business, to make that investment, to take that leap of faith because of the reluctancy and the hesitancy of a possible recession. We are in a recession, or a possible depression, or a downturn in the economy. But one of the things that I think that's interesting that you have, that how you share it, an opinion on, is that you say that actually in real estate for your team, that you do better when the economy takes a downturn rather than when the economy is at its height.
Yeah, when there's actually, just being candid, there's two reasons why we tend to do better, even if the recession is kind of a hard word to digest because a lot of people don't understand what it is. But the recession that we went through was because of the housing industry, and like the recession now that's going on, it's a GDP measurement. So, but anyhow, on the reason why we tend to do better in any kind of market correction or anything, because at the end of the day, the sellers need our services even more, because marketing, exposure, and because look, let's be honest, if there's 20 people to buy a house and you hit enter in the MLS, you got 20 offers, how much marketing services do you need? But when there's as the market tightens, the sellers really need the digital marketing. They need the photography, videography, and all the marketing services. And at the same time, the buyers need to be able to find those opportunities that fit their family's needs. So, and on another note, during the high time, it's a weird analogy, but as the market increases, everyone wants to become a realtor. And so there's a lot of, I love all my realtor peeps, but so a lot of people jump into the industry that may not know all the ins and outs. And as soon as it kind of normalizes or goes down, then there's less competition or less agents. So then that also, all the services that we offer really stands out even more.
Right. I see that just, I see that apart from real estate agents. I see that, for real estate agents, for lenders, for title agents. I see that in all those different types of industries. When the market's doing really well and things are busy, we see like an influx of people who are just interested, and they've got this kind of like get rich mentality, right? So they're like, oh, I want to join this industry because I can get rich. And I just so happen to be a real estate instructor. And so I'm teaching a lot of different people who are interested in becoming real estate agents, the licensing, the courses, the instruction to get that license. And one of the things I teach about is that real estate is not a get-rich industry. And if you go in with the mindset, if you go in the mindset of any industry with that mindset, regardless of real estate, you're not going to succeed. That's the wrong mindset. So what type of mentality do you operate on in your business?
It's a just daily. I oversimplify it sometimes, but do the work or do the thing, have the power, and that's always increasing our skill, increasing our tactics, increasing our support to our team, always looking for competitive edges, looking at the market and seeing. I'll give you an example. We're running into a bunch of our clients that are looking for 3-2 pool homes underneath 325, and now the market's gone up. That's really hard to find, and so now what we're doing is putting together. I reach out to a lender. They have pool lending available, and now we're going to look at homes without a pool, because a lot of buyers need to be able to finance it all into the deal. So we got the pool company, we got it all put together where they have more options, because there's only like 14 homes underneath 350 with a private pool right now.
So it's getting creative with what's at hand is basically what you're saying. But when I look, I mean, I've worked with you and your team a lot, and one of the things that about your team that I see that stands out is that you guys grind. Like that's what it comes down to. It's putting in the time and putting in the energy. And no matter what industry you're in, no matter what business you're in, you've got to put that in that time. There's no get rich quick type jobs out there. So when you just going back, so when you first moved here, did you start a team right away, or was this like team concept a new one to you? Because for me, in my career, one of the things that is a struggle for me is that, and I think it's a struggle for a lot of people, is the idea that, if you can do it yourself, if you can do it yourself, and if you can do a good job at it, then why not just do it yourself? And so a lot of times on like a daily, weekly, on a monthly basis, I'm reminding myself of the importance of a team. But I talk to some people and they say that, they don't see the value in a team. So where did that team concept come into play when you first moved here? Was it in the beginning, or did it take you a little bit to figure out that, maybe a team has more value than just being by yourself?
Yeah, the first thing I learned is because I think and I believe, I know, I believe every industry, and this for all entrepreneurs, everyone is in sales in some sort of capacity if they're a business. And so in order to have relationships, or be able to get to the places that you want to get, they you have to talk to you have to talk to people. In order to talk to people, you can't be doing administrative, so separating the parts that you do best, but also the things that are really important that still need to get done, and are you always the best person to do it? So that leads me to my first hire was having an administrative assistant, because making the brochures, dropping off the things, dropping off signs, servicing our clients, all those things needed to get done, but I needed to be working with the clients on negotiating contracts, problem solving, getting the marketing, kicked off, and showing the property, and those types of things. Those were where that was the most important need in order to grow the business. So hiring the first, because you've heard me say it before, but if you don't have an assistant, you are the assistant. And,
Yeah.
and so
Then you're like this rat in like a hamster wheel, or a hamster in a hamster wheel, and you just can't get out because it's just constant, and there's just no getting ahead. But like people are at the same time, people are reluctant to make that step, right? Because so when you hire an assistant, at least for me it was the case, you have to make that jump because your cash flow and your income, your revenue might not support hiring an assistant. So for you, did you have to take that leap of faith, or did you hire an assistant once your revenue was there and your cash flow was there where you could afford one?
it's a good question. It was a big leap of faith. My manager was like super concerned because I had just been in the business for 6 months. And, there's some, and she's like, you should be, hiring an assistant right now. But we did, and it was a big leap of faith. But you know what? Everyone's motivated differently. Some people are motivated by positive things, and some people are pleasure. Some people are motivated by pleasure, and some people are motivated by pain. And I'm one of the people that are motivated by pain. So I'm not going to let my assistant fail. I'm not going to let myself fail. So that made it where I was like up earlier. I was up late. I was not, socializing on the nights and weekends. I had someone that I was responsible for, including myself. So it made me, kind of reprioritize, what was important till at least the revenue could be there to support the administrative person in this example.
So when you scale, like since that first person, and for me it was the same way. Like for me, when I hired my first assistant, I was growing, I was expanding, but it was like I couldn't reach that next point until I made that jump because I was doing so much that Only I could sustain that level I was at, and I couldn't reach that next phase, that next step until I made that jump. So it's similar, similar place that you were in as well. So I can totally relate. But since you've scaled from your first assistant, now you said you have 14 people, has it been that type of jump every single time? Because each time you add on an agent, there's more expensive, right? I mean, and your team does a lot for your agents. So have you found that to be true for each jump, or do you think you get at a level where it's easier to expand?
No, it's still at where I'm at in my business. It is at least in my own head. It is just as stressful. So it's something that I'm trained on it. I know it's going to feel tough at first, but it's going to help me stabilize and grow. And so it's the one step back to go two steps forward. And we just hired a sales manager, Kayla Montgomery, and that's a big. I still today, that was just last week, and I'm
Yeah.
like, it's
Are you guys big enough to hire a salesman? I mean, that's a big deal, right?
right. So this tailors into exactly what you're talking about. So if do you need a sales manager to manage 7 people? No. Our seven sales associates? Not really. It's something that I could do. There's sales managers all over the county that's managing 20 or 30 or 40. Not sure exactly at what level, but it's the functions there.
Right.
So, but in order to, I needed to take one step back so that it's easy to go to 10 or 12 or 14 associates without waiting till all the wheels are falling off the cart and the agent's services are going down or the exposure is going down before adding that position. So it was every bit as nerve wracking as hiring the first assistant,
Right.
and it's the same with every role.
Because at least for me, like when I took that first plunge and I hired my first assistant, I was at a place where I was beyond overwhelmed. Like I had way too much stuff on my plate. So imagine it, like you have too much stuff on your plate and then you hire someone, and no matter who you hire, even if it's the most experienced person, ever, which generally if it's your first person, that's probably not going to be the case. There's training that's involved. So you're, like you said, you're taking a step backwards. So how are you going to have the time to train someone and to help give them the attention that they need when you bring them on if you're already overwhelmed with too much work? Right. So waiting till it's too late could actually set you back even farther. At least that was my experience, in retrospect, looking back on it. So timing's very important. So going back to like kind of like your chronological events, like you moved here, you hired an administrative assistant. So did you make your plunge into creating a team? It seems like right off the bat, like you had that idea, like 6 months into it, you hired an assistant, and like your idea was to like have this group of people like working together, right? And so
Yeah.
did you go at it like multiple times, or like what was your experience in just like building this culture? I guess is it essentially what you're saying you did?
Yeah, when I first moved here, we created a more of a partnership or a team. Anytime you have more than 2 people, it's a team. Um, but and it was a great relationship and everything was working out well. But I reflect back now today to then, and like we made it work. It was archaic. We had pieces of paper, post-it notes, transferring voicemails, and just phone calls of like of supporting each other, which is what the only thing I knew to do. Now, I mean I have systems, I have CRMs, I have tools that communicates everything really effectively. All of our new inquiries come into that system and get shared, and everyone can jump in a file, and so things are totally systemized from way back then. But but I had to go through that pain to do what we're doing now, and the learning of it, and most importantly the implementation. And I tell people all the time, I'm always A/B testing. So because you have to test things to even see if if you work with the system or the system works with you, or you have to learn, you have to learn if the tool works, and how to make it work the best way. So I don't know if that makes sense, but
Yeah.
um,
Well, you mentioned something before. You said, you were kind of talking about what your idea of like you and your team is, and you're like, we're in sales. And you've told that to me in the past too. You're very forthcoming about it. You're embracive about it, where, I don't like to have that mentality of thinking that I'm in sales. For me, it's adding value, it's building relationships. And so, my perception of it's a little bit different, that sales word to me, and it's a little bit stingy. And there is like a reputation, like, if you're, for me, like, I think sales, I think like a used car salesman. Like, I just have like this negative connotation. And I think a lot of people do have a negative connotation. So why are you so embracive, of being in sales? I guess like a little bit more in detail about it,
you're
because
going out to the third rail. Okay, all right, that's good. All right.
Ugh.
The
Sorry to put you on the spot, man. I know you don't like to be put on the
No, no,
spot.
I feel totally comfortable with it. I don't
Okay.
have, I'm not adverse to. So you're right. Interpretation or perception of sales can be through whatever lens you're looking through. But to me, someone taught me a long time ago, in Cleveland, Ohio, and not real estate related. And it was back when I was an engineer, quite frankly. And I was complaining to the Dolans, and they own Cablevision, and they've been in business for a long, long time. And I was complaining to John Dolan, and I was saying, I mean, the salespeople are driving me crazy. They want this, they want that, and he's like, Scott, slow down. And I'm like, this is 22-year-old Scott, and he's like, nothing in this world happens until something is sold. Meaning, so we're talking about cell sites and switch stations and stuff like that. He's like, we would not be here if that land over there wasn't sold, and then the contractors were building and da 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 da. So that made me take a step back, and like my job was not necessary. If the salespeople did not sell cell phones, you don't need a network engineer. You don't need that function, because you won't have a network. So I don't look at sales as a bad word. It's client services. It's helping your clients. It's understanding their needs. It's understanding the lifestyle, and also trying to meet the two, the needs and wants. It's not ninja trickery, type thing.
Yeah. When I think sales, and so maybe it's different for you, and maybe like this is where we have like a different lens and a different perception, is that when I think sales, like, okay, you go into a mall, you go into a dealership, right? This is a perfect example. You go into a car dealership, right? And so you have someone coming out to greet you when you're at the car dealership. And so automatically, like, I'm on guard, right? So this person's coming out to me to try to sell me something. And so what I'm thinking is that he's going to try to sell me the most important, or not the most pricey car on the lot, because he's got every incentive to make a higher sale so he can put a larger commission in his pocket. So, for you, like, whether it was when you were a 22-year-old Scott or in your previous jobs, were you always trying to make that highest price sale? And is that, what you think is that how you view that perception of sales?
No, I mean, like, so use that example, if you came in, and I perceive myself as a good salesperson. You come into the car dealership, I want to like learn about what brings you to the store today. I'm going to want to learn, like, are you more of an SUV kind of guy? Are you a two-seater Corvette type of guy? What are your needs? That's the first place you're going to go, where car A may be the most expensive, but if you're like looking for a car that gets 40 miles to the gallon, why, or efficiency and safety, then uh, I'm not going to serve you well. You're not going to refer people to me. I'm not going to have that relationship with you if
You're not going to
I'm,
provide value. Yeah.
yeah, you're going to discard me right away, hopefully. But
Yeah.
if I'm like engaging and giving you space and letting you look around, and I'm here for any questions, and then learning about your needs and wants, that's easy to serve.
Yeah.
Does
Yeah.
that
So
does
it
that
sounds,
sound salesy to you?
I think that you would sell me. I think you would
So
sell me. And I think that, some people try to make that hard sell, right? They try to like, monetize now, try to make that hard sell. They try to get as much money upfront as they can. But, I tend to agree with you without using the word sales. I tend to agree with you that that's what most people, most small business owners do. That's what most entrepreneurs do, is they're trying to see what the customer needs, the person needs, the individual needs, and then they're trying to fit that product, that service, or whatever it is into like their wants and their needs.
look, if the person's going to be successful, meaning they're going to learn to how to do it at a client, on a good level. They will fail miserably, not having the client's needs at the first interest. So it'll wash itself out one way or another.
So just to kind of close up here, what for people starting out, or for people who are starting a new venture, maybe they've been in the business for a while, what would be your one piece of advice for people, for small business owners, for entrepreneurs?
I would say, first of all, it's going to sound a little deep, but understand your why. What is the motivation? Like, why do you want to do it? And have a long discussion with yourself about that, because that's going to power you through all the challenges of starting a new business, of any business. So I think identifying that. I think mentoring or interning or getting with someone that's already doing it, and that someone that you think is, so that exactly what it is, and even if you have to pay them or what have you, or trade with whatever, I think there's a lot of insight with learning from someone that's already doing it, would be step number two. Step number three, I would develop a business plan, because if you don't have a plan behind it, then you'll be totally spinning your wheels. Those would be three things, actually.
For sure. Scott, thanks so much for being on today's podcast. It was awesome talking to you. And that's Scott Reynolds with Team Reynolds here in Vero Beach, Florida. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.